What's up, guys? This is Jake from MACkite, and here we've got
Dustin. How's it going?
And we had a freaking awesome session this morning. Miraculously, we were both on the same size kite. I was able to ride the new Reedin Supermodel V3, and Dustin was able to ride the 2022 Moto 12 meter. So we just wanted to give you guys our feedback. We were able to both swap kites, see how they both compared.
Yeah. So two 3-strut kites here, but very different in the same sense. This is kind of going to be geared towards, they're kind of geared towards everything.
Yeah.
Like, master of none, but kind of great at everything. Haven't had this one in the waves yet. Love the Moto in the waves. Also a great boosting kite.
Yeah, so I've talked about this in a previous video where both of these kites probably fall into that all-around category. But again, we're kind of pushing to one end of the spectrum. They work well for freestyle, but I wouldn't call them freestyle kites, right?
Totally. Yep.
And freestyle kites tend to also be decent surf kites in the fact that they're more active flyers. So you keep it more engaged and you're doing a lot more loops, way less pushing out and letting the kite drift. They do that all right, but it's not where they excel. But that's what makes these kites so cool is if you've been kiting as long as we have, you naturally want to push the envelope a little bit. So you want like a faster turning, more responsive kite, that catches you, that feels like you can really progress with. And I think both of these kites fall within that category.
Totally. I think the Reedin definitely really excels in boosting, whereas the Moto is kind of going to be a bit more drifty down the line for waves and whatnot. Also a killer boosting kite. But today, during the session, I'd definitely go with the Reedin for boosting.
I think I would agree with that. So I guess if we were to look at the characteristics, the Reedin has a much narrower leading edge diameter and the very thin struts.
Yep.
Whereas the Moto, a little bit of a chunkier leading edge, little thicker struts, and you could see on the Gus if you looked at the canopies. I felt like the Reedin maybe did a little bit of a better job. There seemed to be a bit less turbulence than on the Moto.
Also a quicker looper. This one you got to pull just a little bit extra, a little bit further, a little bit longer to get that kite to come back around. But yeah.
I agree. I did feel like I noticed more slack in the rear lines of this kite.
Yep.
Versus this, it seemed to be more tension. Like you said, I do think this was the faster looper, but how they turned was a little bit different as well.
Totally.
I think one thing that both of these kites don't have a lot of is maybe low end, right?
Definitely. Yep.
I did feel like when we first got there, the session was pretty light, and we were both able to go upwind. One, because we're flipping good kiteboarders, and two, because it was flat water. So that makes it really, really easy to hold that tack line and just sneak a little extra. But at one point, we were about ready to put down our kites and come into the shop. It was fun. It's nice to get out there. But when the wind ticked up, that's when both of these kites became super, super fun.
Yep. As far as relaunch to go, I went on a half-an-hour swim with the Moto today. Couldn't get it back up, and I think it's because of that chunkier leading edge. Whereas the Reedin just instantly wanted to go back up, pulled right through the water. So definitely an easier relaunch on the Reedin than the Moto.
Yeah. What did you think about bar pressure? I felt like the Reedin definitely more on the heavy side.
Yep.
The Moto maybe a bit lighter.
Yeah, light to medium, I'd say.
Yeah.
Right in that medium zone, I think, is right where that bar pressure is, whereas this is definitely a little bit heavier on the hands.
Yeah.
You could feel it in the forearms.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting done with it.
Yeah, we were in our 654s today. Between that, holding a GoPro, we were using the Reedin bars, and they are fairly narrow diameter, but still, like, I was getting mad forearm pump.
Oh,
it was
sure.
terrible. Whereas Cabrinha, like you said, with that medium light bar pressure, it's interesting. You push out, and Cabrinha kites, I feel like, do a really good job depowering.
Yep.
So it goes to a very light depower, or very light bar pressure, and then when you pull in, you can find it.
Totally.
Yep. And I think that's something to be mindful of when you're doing tricks. Sometimes the Moto, if you're feathered out more, you can kind of forget where that kite is. You need to kind of pull in to re-engage it.
Yep, totally.
I did think the Moto, when I was doing tricks and I yanked the bar, it seemed to fly more like directly downwind through the window.
Yep.
That's your impression as well?
Totally.
Yeah, whereas the Reedin was maybe a little farther forward?
Yeah.
I just send Huck behind me and then drive it forward.
Right.
So I feel like when I do that, the Moto tends to fly more in front.
Yeah.
Like, more towards
see
12
Yeah.
or 11 versus I felt like the Reedin is kind of more to like an 11 to 10.
Right. No, I can get behind that, but for looping, I think this sits a little bit wants to pull around a little bit harder.
Okay.
Forward, whereas I feel like this kind of pulls in that, like, a little bit further back.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'll defer to the loop expert here.
I don't know.
But yeah, I think overall, like, they were both awesome kites.
Yeah, totally.
Again, the Moto, I think, had a little bit, as we touched on with Cabrinha, they just do a really good job with their D-power.
Yep.
They've created a kite where you can be wildly overpowered and still feel like you're okay.
Totally.
Which is maybe a good thing. I don't know. I haven't seen
Maybe
many videos of people getting pulled into buildings with Cabrinha kites. So they, it is a different feeling though. Like the Reedin, when it got punchy, like I knew.
Oh yeah.
I was kind of at the upper end of the power spectrum for that size, and it was going to be time to size down. Whereas the Moto, you can fake that a little bit more. You can stretch that.
Totally.
Yeah. But I think, in conclusion, I mean, we loved them both.
Yeah, great all-around kites. Just grab one and you switch up your board.
Yeah, I would grab either of these in a heartbeat. I think for the conditions today, the Reedin probably takes the cake, but the Moto felt great as well. It looks great. It's a really fun color scheme.
Totally. The Moto's going to be for that person looking for something all around, can't really pinpoint what they want to do. You can take it out foiling, surfing, twin tipping, big air, doesn't matter. It's going to be pretty good at everything. Not totally awesome, but it's going to be a one kite grab. So that's why I always gravitate towards the Moto.
I guess I would say something quite similar for the Reedin. In their marketing, they really focus on this being a kite that is made for kiteboarding, right? All of the stuff that we love to do, jumping, flipping, just having a good time, smashing into a wave, cruising. And that's what it gave me. It gave me those vibes. So I was super stoked. This is kind of one of those desert island kites for me. If I was to get stranded,
Totally.
I'd be pretty stoked.
That's how I feel about the Moto.
Unless it was a light wind island.
Yeah.
And then we would be cooked.
Yeah.
Hey guys, again, thanks for checking us out. This has been Jake.
And Dustin.
And we look forward to doing more comparisons throughout the season. Thanks for checking us out.